But I was say, yeah, not bank holiday in Scotland. I remember when somebody tells me that I'm like, oh, and it's you guys don't get less. I don't feel sorry for you. They're just different. But yes, when I shared about my weight in the group chat the other day about it spiking 400 grams, and I thought one of those reasons I was kind of, when you can feel maybe I'm coming on, but I don't think I am, but it kind of is, but it's not. Well, it wasn't. Now I am on. Let me like rest assured. So I definitely put it down to having carbohydrates later, having more carbohydrates. I wasn't over my calories, but I just chose to have more carbs so that I could see myself through cheerleading and obviously the water retention because I think I'm quite different to a lot of you guys. This is why we get you to track your weight daily as long as you've been asked to. If you haven't, that's not a requirement. It's something you'll know if you've been asked to do. But so you can learn your water retention around your cycle, especially useful, obviously, if you've got a natural cycle. But my water weight doesn't come in until the floodgates open. That's very graphic. I apologize. But that's what happens for me. Doesn't come in a few days early, comes in on the nose, and then hangs around a bit longer at the end. So, but again, everybody is different. So I think we're all on. Let me share my screen. And if I'm shuffling around, just know that's why. I am very uncomfortable right now. I went from having a 3 day migraine to now being on a period that's horrendous on bank holiday. I was like, oh, joys. Right, here we go. All right, make it big, make it big. So I want to talk about managing food noise, and it's something everybody experiences, including me. Now, you will get it in waves where it hits harder, and there'll be points where you feel like you're more in control, less in control. Some of you might experience it greater than others, but every single one of us will experience food noise to some capacity. But before we go into that, so Vicky is almost £50 down. That is a massive amount to be down. And especially because I know she's had a couple of weeks where it's felt a bit hairier, where it's a bit less in control. Summer holidays, out of routine, got a poppy, literally so many different things. And when I reminded her of this, she's actually had a phenomenal week last week. But when I reminded her of this, she was like, good God, like, you kind of forget, don't you? Like, we will tell you what you're losing each week or what, like, the fluctuation or whatever, but sometimes it's that big picture going, oh my God, like, I've forgotten that. So that's incredible. Katie, who actually went on holiday, she was so nervous about the concept of putting weight on. Well, she actually managed to lose some on holiday and she is now £18 down, which is incredible. And Michelle, 2 stone gone. That is gone for good. So this is incredible. That honestly, there were loads of wins last week, which were again just phenomenal, especially after the week before, which I know felt like a bit of a heavier week. It was nice to see a lot of positivity back and everybody just really crushing it. So, how many of you pop it in the group chat, which I cannot see? I've got to look back afterwards. But pop it in the group chat. Put a one in the group chat if you feel like your brain has ever at any point just constantly been thinking about food. If this has ever happened to you, like, oh, I can see the group chat now. Now somebody's popped something in, it pops up. But what you're going to eat next. And sometimes you're thinking about lunch when you haven't even eaten your breakfast yet, or you're thinking about the weekend or food. It just feels like your brain. And like I say, I am no different. I am exactly the same. Like food is probably my biggest personality trait. It is something that plays an enormous part in my life. But it's something that we want to be able to control it, a bit like the volume on the TV. If it's really loud and you're thinking, fucking hell, when the adverts come on the TV and it gets really, really loud, you just want to be able to press the quieten switch, not necessarily turn it on. I actually think it's a really powerful thing, food noise. And For me, again, this comes down that the women taking a GLP-1, I don't think it's the best thing. I honestly think silencing food noise is not a good thing. It's something that we want to be in control of and we want to quieten it, but we don't want to silence it because it plays an enormous part in telling us, right, I'm actually hungry, so I need to eat. If you take that completely away, you've kind of lost the control. You've got no concept of when you're actually hungry, when you're not. Is it just an emotionally? Is it something else? Is it because I skipped a meal? Is it because of this? You're just passing the buck and you're just literally kicking the can a lot further down the road. So some strong shouts at me from the fridge. Yeah, always planning one more meal ahead. This is it. It's like, and especially I mean, it can be bad if you work in the office, depending on what you're surrounded by, but it can be equally as bad if you work from home and your fridge, like mine, is literally right behind you all day long. That's kind of what we're going to go into. I find meal prep helps massively. Last week, however, my body brain was not cooperating. I literally wanted to eat the entire world at that point. Yeah, really, really normal. Really normal. Again, even things like your hormones, all of this can change how our experience happens with food noise. So, what actually is it? I mean, I'm sure you all know what I'm referring to. I'm going to close the chat, sorry, for a minute. Otherwise, I don't know whether the chat shows actually when you watch it back or not. I've no idea. But it's the constant chatter, the noise in your head about foods, cravings, hungry, guilt. Should I eat this? Should I not eat that? In normal doses, like I say, I think it actually is a positive thing. It's when it's getting really, really loud and noisy and it can feel overwhelming and make fat loss or health goals feel like they're a lot harder to hit. That's where we want to try and understand this volume approach of just bringing the noise down a little bit. So, why does it actually happen? So, there are lots of different reasons for this. So, there are biological reasons, so restriction, as you all know, and I will say it on as many Zooms as I need to get women to stop doing this, but that restriction, over restriction, and we do sometimes still see it inside of the program where we're like, you've got to bring those calories back up. And for those of you reverse dieting, you'll know that I hammer you on this, that actually I'm like, you're not meeting your new requirement, and we have to meet that new requirement. But again, even if you are in a cut, we still want to be getting as close to that. Now, I am accepting that not everybody wants to track milk in tea. Not everybody wants to track like the little tidbits like the Frylight spray. I still like it, especially when you're new to the program, to see everything being tracked because sometimes we underestimate the value of those things like squash. If you ever drink squash, there are calories inside of it, even if it's like the low sugar versions, there usually are still calories in it. It just gives you a concept of what you actually should have. But restriction, and as well, if you've ever restricted yourself in the past, and I can almost guarantee nearly every single one of you has probably done this in an attempt to drop body fat in a previous point in your life where you've overly restricted yourself, you're creating the food noise chain. That's what you're doing when you, and I say this time and time again, a binge will always follow a restriction. The brain is heightened in that focus. The moment you tell yourself you cannot have this is the moment that's what you start to think about. Like, you can't have it, I want it. You can't have it, I want it. It's like when you tell a child, no, you're not having that thing, and they suddenly like have the biggest tantrum in the world. Like, it's a very similar process. So that's why we do not want to be overly restricting calories or trying to chase fat loss goals too quickly. Not only is it going to have other detrimental side effects, but this will be one of them. Food noise will be heightened. Hormonal shifts. So we've talked about this before. So again, if you drop your calories too low, or you try and cut out certain macros or food groups, you are likely to spike any one of these areas. And again, it's going to increase cravings. Sleep deprivation, even being hungover, that's another one on there. Do you know what I mean? It's going to increase food noise. But if you are exceptionally tired and losing an enormous amount of sleep, then again, it's massively going to amplify the food noise inside of your mind because, again, it is spiking the hormones inside of you to say you need to satisfy this. And it's always going to be for the foods that are lower quality and nutrients that your body is going to want to crave. This is one of the reasons why shift workers can find it a little bit harder as well. Not to say that it's impossible to overcome, but it can, due to the nature of sleep and changing between days and nights. So when we work with doctors, nurses, people in the field, it can feel like sometimes the food noise can shift quite quickly, and often it does come down to that sleep habit again. Physiological reasons. No, it's not. Psychological reasons. My brain, it's tired after its 3-day migraine. But dieting history, like I just mentioned, those yo-yo diets, that good versus bad foods, like when we're still in that mindset, and it can take a really long time to shift from that mindset of being like, I can't have this, but I can have that. As soon as we're categorizing food groups as good food and bad food, and a lot of you might have seen this with Joe Wicks recently, it's massively been getting hammered by so many fitness coaches for he went on a sugar cut and then he said he relapsed and he binged on Jaffa cakes. And it kind of proves the point. If you try and completely eliminate something, then actually, and what he did, like loads of his followers went on to do the same thing. And then people were really angry about the fact that he used the word relapse as if, again, relaying food as if it's like a drug addiction or something. It was kind of like all of his language choices were quite damaging. But that's kind of the point. Like when you completely eliminate things, you're going to end up going onto a binge again. Stress, emotions. Again, we kind of went through the mental health piece last week. That can be another enormous trigger when you feel really stressed or very emotional and food becomes a comfort blanket to you. That's also going to massively heighten that food noise. So, again, even trying to get to the bottom of the stress. So, using myself as an example, I am prone to migraines and they, it's really annoying. They seem to now happen in my sleep, so I don't know it was a migraine because I lose my vision for a bit. But because I'm asleep, I don't know, and I just wake up in chronic head pain, just thinking, "Oh, I'll just take a couple of ibuprofens and it'll go away," and it does not, and it hangs on. But then it's my job to go back and go, "What's causing the stress?" What is making me, and I'm always pretty stressed. I'm a business owner. Do you know what I mean? You guys are also probably quite stressed people, but there's usually something that's heightening the stress. So for me, it's my company accounts. I need to get the fucking things done. It's right at the bottom of my priority list because I don't like doing them, quite honestly, but I need to get them done so that I can actually just have a bit of peace in my brain. You've got to figure out what is it causing the stress, the emotion, what is driving that link. Because again, if you're not addressing the actual issue, the food is not necessarily the issue, it's the causation. That's just the response. It's not the direct thing that's causing it. You've got to get to the bottom of that piece of the puzzle. Then you can start to try and work out, right, how can I actually get rid of the stress or the emotions, the triggers essentially causing it. Environment. So constant exposure to food adverts. Now, I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I do, I mean, I used to work in marketing, and one of the games we used to play was to guess the advert brief. So what was it? I mean, that's a really sad game, isn't it? It sounds really sad. If you work in marketing, that might be right up your street. If not, that just sounds really weird. But that was something that we used to do, especially when you see an advert when you think, what the hell? How on earth did they end up there? And you're trying to depict like what was the brief that was actually given to the advertising agency to get to that point. But it is really interesting because you will watch certain things like I think is it Love Island? No, I don't think it is. Something sponsored by Domino's Pizza and that fucking doorbell. We have a doorbell that sounds just like the Domino's Pizza advert, and our dogs start chasing the door thinking someone's at the door. The amount of time, and I don't know what it was we were watching. I can't even think what's sponsored by Domino's, but that kind of thing where it's food noise, it's in the back of your mind. And you'll see it as well on like social media and stories where somebody shares something and you suddenly go, I really want one of those. Or I just fancy that. And then it's on your brain. And it's like you've then got to feel like you've got to scratch that itch. So being mindful of that. Snacks in the cupboards. Now, I do not, I think I was explaining this to Susie earlier when I did a supermarket shop a few weeks ago, and the guy in Aldi was like, this is the most healthy supermarket shop I've ever seen in my life. And I was a bit like, huh, that's interesting because this is just my weekly shop. This is what I buy, and I just don't buy it. Now, we are in a fortunate position. We don't have children, but even if we did, I would still want to be teaching them good nutritional habits and constantly having the snacks that they're going to absolutely want and crave and love. You've got to start to think about what that's demonstrating. Now, again, I'm not talking about restriction, I'm talking about rounded choices here. So, yes, I will buy, sometimes I'll buy crisps. I've not really fancied them at the minute, to be honest. The odd time I'll buy, I don't really know, to be honest. Sweets is my thing, but when I'm in a cot, I do actually I just don't buy them and everyone just knows. But like Thomas's mom, he's not cutting, as I've said, but like she keeps baking. I think that's her love language. I think she just likes to bake. But she makes all these scones and he came home with these four gigantic scones. Now, I don't like ingredients touching. I'm really weird like that. So if there's like, I don't know, I think they were like blueberry and coconut, they can't touch in my world. So because she put them in a scone and they touch, I would never eat it ever. Like I can't bring myself to eat things that touch when things to me can't touch like that. So I'm like, it wouldn't even bother me. So those scones sat on the side, Thomas ate every single one of them. Like his sister was thinking he was going through a crisis, but this is it. It's like the ability to calm down the food noise. And I'm in a cut as well. I could quite easily turn to something, do you know what I mean? But I just choose not to buy it. And it makes my life significantly easier just not to have it in the house. Social situations can also spike. Now, you will find a bit of pressure and like people say to you, oh, you're not drinking. Oh, why are you not drinking? Or do you know what I mean? When you think, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm just not going to get a dessert, and then everyone gets a dessert, and then it becomes a lot harder, doesn't it? So again, being mindful of those situations too. Now, I will stand my fucking ground. If I've gone in and I've said I'm not having something, you can put all the pressure on the world in me, and I will turn that shit around on you so fast and make you look like an absolute a-hole. And I'm quite happy to be that person. I'm not drinking. I've made my position clear. Do not come for me unless you're prepared to get a bit of a tongue lashing. Bit like you probably saw in my Instagram stories with that guy who's commenting on what women wear to the gym. I will make my feelings known because I'm not a little like dormouse. Do you know what I mean? I will just say it as it is, and then people back off. Probably why I don't have many friends. But it's not a sign of failure. It's just feedback from your body or your environment. It does not mean you are a failure, even if you cave to the feeling. You just need to grow through the process and accept that Rome wasn't built in a day. We want to acknowledge, understand, and try and actually move forward. So, like practical strategies to try and quieten it. So, the biological tools. So, the protein, again, we're always going to come back to eating decent protein and making sure that you are having 3 meals a day. Now, some of you might have five. You might prefer to go, I'll have a breakfast, a little bit of brunch, a little bit of afternoon, a little bit of dinner. Like you might eat really little and often, so they might not be like 3 big meals as an example, or they might be. But the moment you are skipping breakfast, you are putting yourself in a position of wanting to have something that's quick and immediate, and your hormones are going to spike that. If you skip a meal, you are going to know about it later in the day. And that's a really quick thing to make sure that you are organized, prepped, and disciplined to make sure it doesn't happen. And protein, as we know, has the highest satiation qualities and it's going to help stabilize that blood sugar. So it's just going to keep you on a nice level playing field. So that's why we do want to aim to have over like around 100 grams a day is usually the minimum requirement that I would want to see inside of this program. Now, of course, we could dip every now and again, but by and large, that's kind of the number that all of you would be okay to hit. But as close as we can get to the figures you've been set is going to be really helpful. Volume foods, we talked a lot about veggies. I can't remember if that was last week, but it was definitely very recent. But the high fiber carbs to help you feel full. Getting your plate. Again, for dinner, we had salmon, we had potatoes, and we had veg. And actually, I was a bit dissatisfied, Thomas, with how little veg you put on my plate. I was thinking, where the fuck is the rest of it? But I really struggle to eat when my period pains are this intense. I find it really difficult, but I do still force myself within reason to make sure that I am actually getting good quality ingredients inside of my body because if I don't, I will activate starvation mode and I really don't want to put myself in that position. Again, not going too low with your calories, not extreme deficits. You are going to get extreme food noise. This is also why I will never coach you. Let's say you are going out for dinner on a Saturday night. I will never say to you, skip breakfast, skip lunch, and go all in on that dinner because guess what? You're just going to spike that extreme food noise. And when you go out for dinner, you're going to make slightly more difficult food choices for yourself. Whereas calorie banking throughout the week leading up to it, you're not going to notice as much as if you try and do it in all in one day. That's usually what people used to do, but that's definitely not what we would coach inside of this program. Hydration, a lot of the time. Now, this theory has been a little bit debunked, but I still think it can be true. If you are not having enough hydration, liquids, water throughout the day, I think it can make you hungrier. And I think you can use water as a bit of a dampener. Like I've been sat in meetings before when I used to work in the office and I was thinking, fucking hell, I'm starving. So I just start drinking my water as a way to just try and quieten the tummy rumbles. Sleep, like we spoke of, enormous to balance hunger hormones. This one is a priority if anyone is not getting a decent amount of sleep at night. And I know the weather is wild at the minute. It is flip-flopping faster than you can imagine. Like even I was hot today. It says a lot. But this is it. It's trying to make sure like you've got a cool room. Do you know what I mean? Shutting your curtains earlier in the day if you know your room's going to get really hot. Have a fan on, light blanket, that kind of thing, but trying to get as much sleep as possible. And for perimenopausal women, especially, this is another thing to really try and prioritize. Don't train fasted and top up after training. So, depending on the timing of the day that you train, for me, it's first thing in the morning, and I will never ever train fasted. I will always have something like light digesting carb before I go. If you train a bit later, you can get away with making sure that you time a meal within a few hours before with some slower digesting carbohydrates. After you train, within around 30 minutes, you want to try and make sure you're getting some decent protein and some carbs back into your body. Again, otherwise, you're just going to spike your hunger hormones through the roof, and we don't want that. So the psychological, said it correctly this time, tools. So label it. When the food noise starts, pause and acknowledge it. So take note of when you are feeling this way and genuinely ask yourself, is like tell yourself this is food noise and not true hunger. And really try and feel it. If you're sitting there going, I really want to smash a packet of biscuits, sit with it sit with it. And even if you want to diarize it, write it down, make a note of the time of the day, and then start to ask yourself the questions. Did I eat a proper breakfast? Have I skipped any food? Is my protein high enough? Am I mega stressed at the minute? Start to go through the checklist of things. And if you want to make a note of what happened and then send it to us, that's really good learning. That's an enormous moment to go, I actually spotted it and I felt like I could do something about it before it actually happened. And have something on hand as well. If you're thinking, I want to smash an entire bag of digestive biscuits or something, have a protein yogurt or something on hand to make sure that you can go, right, I'm just going to have this. And really good rule of thumb as well with this is to proportion out, like, if you really feel like it's coming, that food noise is really high, have a very small amount of the thing, but before you do, have a piece of fruit first. Have the fruit, eat the fruit, and then ask yourself, am I actually hungry? Or do I just want this thing? Now, if you're still hungry and you still want that thing, you can have the couple of hundred calories that you've proportioned out of that thing. If the fruit actually makes you stop for a moment and think and actually ask the question as to whether you are actually hungry, and you can genuinely say, no, I'm not hungry, I'm just doing this for the sake of doing it, you don't eat the thing and you park it away and you feel like a fucking queen in that moment for being able to back the fuck away. They're the kind of moments that we then want to compound, and you will feel immediately better for doing it. Slow your eating. Now, I know this one, like sometimes I eat like a pig at a trough because I'm like, I'm in a cut as well and I really want to eat. But you do want to try and slow down the time in which it is taking you to finish a meal and actually savor the food when you are in a calorie deficit, because you know that food has got to last you for however long until you're going to eat again. So really just pace yourself. Drink as well while you're eating. Have a glass of water at hand. That's going to help slow you down with the eating piece. So that's another really, really simple tool. And then mindful swaps, rather than banning foods, include controlled portions. So some of you guys are really good at doing this. Like you might have the Freddo, or you might have like whatever your version might be. Now, some of you guys have had to say recently there's too much of it. There is in like so many calories that are adding up to the not so nutritionally dense foods. We need to pull back on some of that, not eliminate, just pull back and start having some slightly better quality foods in favor of that. But a little bit, some of you guys would prefer not to have it at all. Like I say, I choose not to really have a lot of this in the house. Makes my life easier. Some of you guys might be disciplined enough to have a little bit of it and be able to park it at that. That's absolutely fine. I've now got an ice cube in my mouth. Didn't see that through. Um, Routine. Having planned meals, snacks reduces constant decision making. This is like piss poor planning leads to piss poor performance. Blah, 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 blah. That felt like a mouthful at this time of night. But this is it. Trying to know. Again, I do my supermarket shop. I know pretty much within reason what we're having. Most of what I buy lives in the freezer, and I just get something out the morning because I mean it's warm enough at the minute to defrost it during the day. So I'll just defrost whatever meat, fish, whatever we're having, and then I know that's dinner and it is set in stone. I'm not getting anything else in that freezer until the next day. So it's a really simple thing to do. I'm a real boring bitch when it comes to lunch and dinner, so those are pretty set in stone for me as well. But taking the decision-making process out of the equation is going to make your life significantly easier. So again, I mean, I've kind of talked about this. So out of sight, out of mind, trying to keep things out of the way that you think are going to set you off. So trying not to put, do you know what I mean, loads of stuff on the side of your counter or the things that you're going to see. Get your food shopping away quickly so you're not thinking, oh, I'll just squirrel one of those. No one will ever know. Stock the easy wins. So, like we said, protein yogurts, your fruit, cut up veggies. I mean, I typically do buy my veggies frozen. Again, really mega easy. Makes my life very straightforward. I'm very time poor. That makes my life just very simple. Quick lean proteins. I usually always have things like ham, tuna, at just available reach. So if I know, right, I'm jumping on a Zoom in a minute or I'm on a call, I haven't got time, that's what I'm going to eat. It's going to be the really quick wins that I can get in fast, that are low calorie, high in protein. Curate your environment. So limit exposure to triggering social media accounts. So like I said, when people are sharing things and you think, oh my God, I really don't want to see that, just don't, do you know what I mean? Don't follow them or mute them for the time being. Like baking people, or do you know what I mean? The people that always do posts about fast food or whatever it might be for you. If you find it triggering or that it's going to spike your cravings, then just switch it off altogether. Tell people around you what you're doing. If you are in a calorie deficit, I think the more people who know I am actively on a health and fitness journey, and I appreciate everybody around me who supports me. So people in the office, so they're not going, oh, go on, just have one. Oh, go on. Like again, like I say, I make my feelings known. And if somebody crosses that line, I won't be particularly polite about it. I will very much make myself known. But the more people you tell in advance, the more they're likely to be able to support you on the journey and then not be saying things like, oh, do you want to get a chippy tea? No, I fucking don't. Do you know what I mean? You know I'm doing this journey. Don't be suggesting things that are actually going to derail me. Like, let people aware in advance. Move away from the perfect mindset. Even if the food noise does become too loud and you do end up going for that, like I say, acknowledge the moment, own it, track it, log it, tell us about it in your check-in. And then that's something where we've got some accountability there, even if it's afterwards. We'd rather know than not know and then be guessing at what's happened. So just complete ownership, and then we can actually try and coach you through the process. Reach out to us again. So if you do know in the moment, 9 times out of 10, I am behind my phone or behind my laptop the majority of most days, even weekends. Shouldn't be, but I just am. That's the way I live my life. No judgment, thank you. But it would be very rare if I would not see it fast enough. Now, Kat's on holiday this week, and you know what? We're not perfect. We might not see it all of the time, but if we might be able to talk you back off the ledge in the moment where you're feeling it, or it's happening, or somebody's just asked you to, if you want a takeaway and you really feel like you want one, just reach out to us, and we might just be able to drop a voice note, slip some words in your ear that make you go, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not going to choose that route. I'm going to choose this route instead, but I'm good to let other people go down that route. That's absolutely fine. There's no judgment. It's just that's not what I'm going to choose. But even afterwards, we very much also like to coach you around the situation. If it has happened, we do still really like to know. So, one thing I'd love you all to do is to write down your biggest trigger for food noise. Now, that might be a time of day, it might be a weekend, it might be more of an emotional response to stress. It might be that the kids are at home, everybody's snacking, so, or routine being out of play. It might be boredom if you work from home, like, and you feel like the fridge is there. It might be people in the office and you feel like they're your biggest trigger because there's always snacks or different, like a shit cupboard almost, or it's always somebody's birthday. Like, what's your biggest trigger for food noise? And then what's one strategy out of all of the different things that you'll try this week to try and quiet that process? So try and think that through. What is it that triggers you? Because again, the moment we can acknowledge it is the moment we can start to overcome it, and then a strategy that you'll really try to get through that process. But again, you're not failing. And I am a big believer, like I say, I don't want to completely eliminate food noise from your guys' lives. I think we need to understand our hunger cues. I think we need to understand when it's psychological response or an environmental response. I think it's a really powerful lesson to learn and to just be able to dim the volume on it rather than eliminate it altogether. You can quieten it. It is possible. Like I said, we've coached many a woman on how to actually be in control of that remote to be able to bring it down when they need to. And like I say, it's just about getting you back in control. That is the most important thing. So if you're feeling like it, I want you to say, I'm not failing. This is just food noise, and I have the tools to manage it. And you've got the coaches in your arsenal to help you manage it. So if it is happening, like I say, please do reach out to us. So I'm going to stop the share and see if anybody, let me just go back to the chat. So you need to have an immense willpower when working in food retail. And yeah, you do. Some of you, so that might be your biggest trigger, Gem. That might be the thing that you write down and go, work is my biggest trigger. When I'm surrounded by it, that is the thing that's most likely going to set me off. And that will be completely different for somebody else. And then again, it's about mitigating it to go, right, okay, well, I probably need to eat before I go into work. I need to take my own food in with me. So I'm not going to try and cave at what is happening around me. And then if I am struggling, I need to reach out to Ash and Kat. My husband eats our chocolate. So we either don't buy it because he's not got a lot of control, or I don't get any of my 2 to 4 cubes of dairy milk. If I bought chocolate and somebody else ate it, you'd be murdered. I think Thomas did do that to me once. I think he did eat, and I was on my period. And I'm not a big chocolate lover, but if I do buy it, I want it. It's like that is probably a bit of an all or nothing for me. I won't buy it often, but if I've bought it, I'm having it. And then if somebody's eating it, all hell will break loose. Like that's it. Like you're dead to me. Watch yourselves because I would be coming for you. Um, Mine this week was after I'd walked 21 miles, so yours was hunger spiking. So now the good news is you probably don't walk 21 miles every single day. That's the good news. The good news. But also the other good news is once it's happened, and you then decide, right, in the future, I'm going on a big hike again, then you can mitigate it by going, right, okay, next time I know I need to take more food with me. But also, that's completely normal to spike your hunger levels. After 21 miles of walking, you are going to feel hungry. You're burning energy at a more rapid pace than what you would normally. So, of course, your body's going to need more fuel. You've just got to make sure you fuel it on the go a bit better next time. This is also where we talk about carb loading the night before. So you'll hear a lot of marathon runners and long distance runners talk about this, where they'll carb load the night before. HYROX is another example where you'll see people do it. They'll have like a big bowl of pasta or something the night before, and the energy will just be on a release throughout the day. And this is where like the running gels and things like that can come into play as well. Mix between weekend and people want to go out, do our food, passing ice cream shop, Mackey's. So a really good example, actually, a bit on that one of food noise is the ice cream van. That is literal food noise. It has a jingle jangle bell on its roof telling you, I am here. Everybody come and get an ice cream. Now, the ice cream man van doesn't actually come up our road very often. We might see it twice a year, that's it. But if you live in a built up neighborhood with a lot of children, they are going to be targeting your street. And that is a great example of quite literal. That is how they use their business model to try and draw people in. Home baking, I also think I could be better at drinking, and this doesn't help my food noise. Yeah, this is it. But I'm actively trying to have a drink of water first. Today, actually, rather than stopping for a milkshake at Mackey's as a weekend bank holiday working treat, I thought, let's have dinner and see how it goes. And now I don't want it. And that's a great example. Now, again, if you feel like it's a treat and you've kind of earned it, then I don't see the problem with having it. But this is so a great example of this was Katie on holiday, where she actually said she was like, normally I'd have a double ice cream every single day. And this holiday, she said I had one ice cream the entire week that I was there, and I savored it and enjoyed it so much more because it was less frequent. And this is it. When you can do that with your brain and go, I'm just going to have this one and that's it, that's a really powerful moment to be able to go, I was in control of that. And that just feels like you've achieved something. But then she still had it, but it just felt all the more special. Comfort eating when stressed. This is a big one. I've taken myself to bed early a couple of times this week and cleaned my teeth so I won't eat. And I've heard that one quite a lot actually as well. The teeth cleaning trick to be like, once I clean my teeth, that's it. No more food passes my lips. It's a bit like when you're new into the program and we ask you to click that complete button on your food diary so that you are it, and what you're doing is consciously telling yourself, I have finished eating for the day. It's those little tricks to be like, right, okay, but then also worth looking at, right, okay, are there things we could do to try and make sure that you're less hungry before you go into bed? Now, I will spike hunger like probably about 10:30 at night. That's when I'm thinking I'm getting a little bit hungry again, but it's again, it's a quiet and enough volume so that I can sleep through it. If it is too loud, that's when I'd need to look at what I've done in my day to try and go, is there, do I need to eat a bit later for my dinner? Do I need to do something a bit differently? Do I need to reserve a bit of calories for after dinner? Do I need to have something a bit sweeter to satisfy, like a bit of Greek yogurt or something? Do you know what I mean? It's those kind of things where you can then play it back throughout your day. I'm a massive emotional eater, and if my emotions aren't in check, then the food noise is very loud. This is probably the most common one that you're talking about now, Emma. The gym has helped massively with managing this. If I feel stressed or unhappy, I go to the gym for a walk and it quietens the brain. Psychologically, and I know we shared this last week, you can't stop the feel good endorphins from releasing in your brain when you work out or when you go for a walk. You actually can't make that switch off. So you are absolutely right. If you feel like you're stressed, or your emotions are really high for whatever reason, whatever's causing the emotional distress, switching the neurons in your brain is a really, really powerful tool. Now, I'm at the point where, like I say, I've got high stress, but the gym doesn't always solve my stress because I'm so used to training now that it's just become normal. Apparently, the reading's not been doing much for me either, so all of my tricks are going to shit. But we'll make it through, guys. I've been trying to cut down on the Snickers bars. I think they're rank. So, yeah, oh, that's personal choice. I know people love Snickers. You know, when I said about food touching, nuts can't touch in my world. They don't belong in anything on their own. Fine. They can't touch. So things like a Snickers to me, Andrea, you would like if you force fed it to me, I'd just throw it up. I just wouldn't be able to do it. But you did really well, and then get what you think is the withdrawal headache after about 3 days. I've had some sugary treat. I don't have a lot of it, but it's really hard to get off this cycle. I think if I could get through the sugar processed crap headache, then it would be amazing. So I wouldn't eliminate sugar altogether, potentially, but you may have to think about what could satisfy that instead. So something that might work is something like a an ice cream, like a protein ice cream, where you feel like, and you could probably get like Snickers flavors or things that feel like that caramelly, chocolatey. Do you know what I mean? That sweetness. You might be able to get that in some kind of ice cream or in a, where you could buy the individual ones. They do like the protein ones. I think it is at Aldi. They probably do them at Lidl. But something like that where you feel like it is sweet and it's taking the edge off, but it's still limited. But that being said, I don't know the calories in a Snickers, but I imagine it's not. There you go. Or exactly as Undies is showing up, like a protein bar that tastes like it. That might be a great one. I'd be interested though, because some protein bars, watch the calories on them. They're actually higher than the actual thing itself. But you've just got to find. So 149, that's not bad. I don't know what a Snickers actually is. Again, I don't eat them, but I imagine it probably is about the same. I imagine it like you probably know better than I do, Andrea, but it probably is about the same. Higher, it's higher. Apparently, Rachel's gone through your exact scenario here. So there you go. Diet Coke helps me with sweet cravings. Never have more than one a day, usually. Yeah, and exactly that. Again, like I mentioned before, studies actually show that they do help take like a sugary craving away, even though it's 0 calories. So as long as you go for the 0 calorie option, that can be another way to trick your brain into believing that it's had something sweet and sugary, even though there's no calories in it. So that sort of thing. But again, for me, it's about addressing the emotions or the craving. It's the thing like that's is sitting in the background of what the causation behind it is. That's the piece of the puzzle to be like, right, okay, how can I actually resolve that? And again, you can speak to us about any of this on a one-to-one level, and we can guide you through it as best as we can. And in the community as well, a bit like Rachel's just demonstrated, like other people can share tips and tricks that they've used in their journey, and they might be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months ahead of you. So leaning in on each other and getting each other's tips and guidance is also really, really helpful. Right, just quickly then, anybody got any questions about anything? Andrea, did it make sense what I was saying about the 6, 8, 6, 8 reps? Sometimes when I write programs, I just assume everyone's in my head. I just think everyone knows what I mean. And sometimes then a question comes up and I'm like, oh yeah, probably should have explained that better. But yeah, uh, kind of do. I continue to go. So yeah, exactly that. So the goal is you'd want to go, I don't know, let's say you're doing an RDL, just as an example. Let's say you were doing it with 10 kg for 6 reps. Then yeah, 8 reps, you might actually drop the weight back or not. You might still be able to do it. If you can still do it, I'd probably argue that your 6 reps could have been a little bit heavier because obviously you're doing less. But the goal is for your second set of 6 to be higher than your first set of 6, and then for your second set of 8 to be higher weight than your first set of 8. So you're just trying to push yourself because your brain usually won't notice that extra little bit, whereas you think it does and it actually doesn't. So it's just getting you in the mindset of really pushing to true failure and not just what you think it is. So it's just getting you to dig that little bit deeper. So no, so it'd be the opposite in theory. So because the reps have gone up, in theory, your weight could actually drop back a little bit. So 6 reps at 10 kg, 8 reps potentially at let's say 8 kg, and then 6 reps you'd try 12 kg, and then you try your second set of 8 with the 10 kg that you initially started with your 6. So you kind of moving it about. If that's too complicated, just make sure the last 2 weights are heavier than the first two. If that just, do you know what I mean? The goal is to lift more and heavier for the second two than the first two. I defo when way too light this evening then. No, it's more about training very close to failure. And the easiest way of knowing that is to whatever reps I've programmed. If you can do more than 3 of the reps I've programmed, and I mean really like training close to failure, then you need to increase the load. That's the quickest way of knowing. So if I've programmed you 6 reps and you can do more than 9, you need to increase the load on the 6. That's where we're really getting the muscles to work. And as you go through every phase, we should be aiming to try and increase where we go within reason, because I will change sets, reps, supersets, like agonistic sets, protagonist, like everything will change. So enjoy. Um, right. Any other quick questions before we go? My brain is hurting again. Just not enjoying looking at a screen this week, I'm not gonna lie. Right, we all good. We're all gravy. Right. Well, I will love you and leave you all then. Standard practice. Everyone's been in, so I'm not going to repeat everything, but I will see you all either Wednesday or Friday. Mwah. Have a great week, guys. See you soon.